a really hard time with this, but I promise that I'm trying. For the next part, there's no way I'm going to be able to talk about this without crying, and I don't want another video of me crying. It's really annoying, so I'm going to put as many details in the description. For this part, I'm like, I get it. I go through 2 foster families. Like, okay, they pried me out with forceps. Like, if you have to see the last part for this to make sense. That's why it's a series and it's complicated. Okay, so because of all that, I had to stay in the hospital an additional 5 days or something, and because of the forceps. And I had a lot of damage to my head and like a lot of bruising and swelling. So they kept me in the hospital. My biological mom put me up for adoption. I don't know, like, by heart, but anyway, I'm sorry, this is a lot harder, and it'll all make sense as the series, if you will, goes on. I was discharged into foster care, as it said. That's pretty much where it left off. And then I live right by LAS, so that's, if you hear a plane, sorry. I live on the Strip, so obviously it's right there. Anyway, my biological mom had a master's degree and was a social worker. And she was actually a social worker for the place that she put me through adoption. That's another video, but yeah. So because my biological mom was a social worker in this specific county that I was born in, they transferred me to a different county to avoid a potential conflict of interest. I was transferred to another foster family, and then I was officially adopted by the time I was like 6 months old. So obviously I don't remember being transported from, hospital, foster family, adoption, blah, blah, blah. I was adopted by a family. My parents were both born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. East Side, both of them. My mom went to Cass Tech. My dad went to Catholic school in Detroit, and I don't remember. My mom went, so I'm really sorry. I'm unprepared. It's a lot. I'm trying. I'm trying everything that I say. It's like, why? What's the point of that? Why are you sharing that detail? Everything that I'm sharing is because a future part will not make sense if I don't include that detail. I'm not even kidding. Did Carla go to a school called Sacred Heart for high school at any point? I know she went to Cass Tech, but didn't. They moved from Detroit to Eastpointe, and I was a baby, so I mostly grew up in Eastpointe, which was called East Detroit. And shout out to Kid Rock for that one song. It's so awesome how he says, it's like, everybody's talking about, it's like the same melody as Billy Joel's, it's like, everybody's talking about Eastpointe, cause it's still East Detroit to me. Yeah, anyway, so my my adoptive parents, for most of my childhood, consisted of living in Eastpointe. Trying to think. I was baptized as a Catholic at St. Barnabas. And although St. Basil was down the street from us, so I don't know why. I don't remember the reasoning for me not being baptized at St. Basil, because I was baptized at St. Barnabas, but then we went to St. Basil until I was 5, or at least 3. Let's just say 4. Let's be fair and go with 4. At the time, I would say the neighborhood was like lower middle class. Like the house was 1,000 square feet, but the neighborhood wasn't really all that bad at like back then. What? Oh, I don't smoke cigarettes. It's all good. Edit. I actually had two friends. One was Amanda and the other was Kevin. Amanda lived in St. Clair Shores, and she's 6 months younger than I was. So when my mom adopted me, around that same time, her mom had her. So they became moms at the same time, and they knew each other since high school. And then Kevin was the grandson of the elderly couple that lived next door to me. Us, whatever. They were basically like parents to my adoptive mom, because my adoptive mom's parents were dead by the time I was born. I was named after her mom because her mom, although her mom died like a month after I was born, I never got to meet her because I wasn't adopted by them yet, obviously. And my grandma Laura, she died from pancreatic cancer from smoking. And they were involved with the Italian mafia, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Basically, because of that, my mom had connections as well, because she was like their daughter, and they referred to me as their granddaughter. And Kevin was like my brother, basically. He was next door all the time, like every single day while his parents were at work. And we played all day, every day, I don't know, for like 7 years. And, Amanda and I would go over each other's houses on a regular basis as well. My dad's dad died when he was a baby, and then my dad, and like referring to my adoptive parents, they each have one brother, and my mom's brother married, but they didn't want kids, so I didn't have any cousins. And my adoptive dad's brother died. He was killed by a drunk driver in their 20s. When they were in their 20s, they were living in the San Francisco area in California. And they had his body flown to Detroit so that he could be buried in Mount Elliott. And then his mom, my grandma Margaret, was killed. And I will put the details of that in the description because I don't really want to talk about it. So I've always had a lot of compassion for my adoptive dad, in the sense that he had one brother, and his dad died when he was a baby. His mom was murdered, and then his brother was killed by a drunk driver, and then his mom was murdered. And it's just like, I don't know. I can't imagine. I think that's really sad, unfortunate. And okay, I'm about 2, so I'll do up to age 3, and I'll also include anything that I'm forgetting in this that would be important. And Virginia, I did not forget about you. I am going to respond to your email. I'll explain everything to you. Okay, I love you.